Hi, my name is Arrtx, aka Nika. Welcome to my channel. And if you hear something in the background, some weird buzzing sound, that's our electric shower that my daughter had switched on just before I decided to start recording. So, sorry. I thought it would be nice to just, instead of having a purposeful video, to just color together, to kind of spend an evening, or no, it's not full evening, kind of a late evening together in my coloring room and kind of show you how unorganized and chaotic and slightly weird my process can be, and how I never get anywhere. When I'm coloring, I'm not kind of working towards finishing anything. I'm just kind of feeling at the moment more like uh, process bit of a session that I just take bits and pieces and just play with them a bit. And I thought I'll invite you with me to enjoy that process with me. Okay, so first, this is one of my all-time favorite books. Funny enough, some books just stick with you. And this is called Capybaras by, oof, if I only knew how to uh, pronounce that name correctly, it's Ela Yarzabek, I think. I could actually be totally wrong. The book is by Mill Publishers, and this is the ISBN. And the paper is, well, it's way better than Amazon paper. It still doesn't love anything water-based, but it is really nice with alcohol markers. They don't bleed here much, so you can actually do like proper, decent blending here with alcohol markers. And because I love this book so much, I have, of course, also colored here a fair bit. This is one of these books that I actually, yeah, I've actually finished some pages here. I love it and I actually work in it. I love this page. Came out nice. Yeah, and usually the pages, probably because I love the artwork, and I find it kind of really easy to work in. I think that was my first or second page in this book. This one I'm not particularly excited about. It's kind of a bit flat. Uh, once I've decided that something is finished, I usually don't go back and fix it because in my head, that's it. I'm done with it. Then if I have to go back to it, kind of feels like a chore. So it is what it is. Well, there's quite a lot of whips in this book as well. This one is a whip, needs shading. All the base is down. This one came out really nice. You can't really. Okay, I really like that one. This is one of those pages that kind of one of the reasons I still haven't got rid of color blend pencils by Spectrum Noir, because they really, like, for me, they work really nice on top of alcohol markers. They don't need, kind of a, if you want smooth shaded finish, they don't really give much of a texture. You can see how smooth everything is, and there's like full shading, here. But you can create texture, of course, and leave texture, but you can, get really smooth finish with them. The only thing is that, yeah, they're kind of, for me, overly waxy a bit. You can see the wax sheen. Can you see it? Yeah. And there's not enough darks, but considering it's a 120 set, they should have stronger darks. I don't think the pigmentation is great. Anyways, this is one of my favorite pages, and so on and so on. Look, there's more of them. There's also a lot of pages where I have, like, I did this bush and this bush. I felt like doing it at the time, and that was all I felt like. Okay, this is this month's page, and although you've seen bits and pieces of it, uh, see, spoiler. I will leave the final of it to them. Okay, this one, The Birth of Venus, Capybara. I just love that one. I also want to do The Creation of Man, the Michelangelo from Sistine Chapel. This one, I think it's hilarious. creation of a capybara. It's just, yeah, this book just speaks to me. It's fun, it's innocent, it's really kind, Uh, everything is kind of soft in this book. Yeah, cowboy, capybara, and so on. Like, yeah, no. For me, this book has a lot of pages because I'm usually not another whip. Started something, need to move on to that. Actually, love the page a lot. I don't know why I haven't finished it. This one is one of those whips that I'm not very happy about. It might be a forever whip. I just didn't love where I was going. Anyway, I don't know why I went on that long tangent here in the beginning, so I am on this page. Don't ask me why. I just felt last night like putting, don't know why I wanted to do that sky with a flat tone here. And then I did something that I usually don't do, and I put down masking liquid onto these leaves. And I think one of the reasons was that I thought that I would do the water with real brush markers, uh, and it would be kind of easier to quickly work on it I if I covered the leaves, so I wouldn't have to kind of try to work around them. And it's very easy to and fast to put down the masking liquid. Anyways, I thought that I put some the real brush markers down here. I haven't decided what color I'm going to do with these bushes, so we need to decide that quickly because I need to decide the color on these and these to decide what the reflection color is going to be because I need to reuse that color. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get my famous pot. These pots, I pretty much have them mostly out. Okay, things are falling. Uh, I use that a lot with real brush pens because I dip them in it and the shape of it, even if I drop it or something, it's very hard for it to actually spill. The shape of it just, keeps it very steady. And I kind of tend to have this essentially like this in my hand, kind of essentially over the artwork here. And I'm dipping the pen. Yeah, you'll see in a minute. So just in case something falls, or you'd have to work to, to drop it down so it would actually spill anything. And on top of it, this little lid goes on. It's really kind of strongly on. It's pretty much kind of sealed. So yeah, nothing leaks, nothing. Uh, it's hard to make a mess with it. Okay, so these bushes here. So I think I want the leaves to be kind of in different reds this time. So I would probably do the bushes in the background kind of in ochres, and then maybe afterwards go over those leaves once everything is dry, kind of like a brighter yellow gel pen. That would give kind of a nice oomph to it. So what we need to do is to find something ochre-ish. Ochre-ish. So I need some sort of a... Okay, here's my testing book. I'm just using this. One thing that annoys me about this particular one that it doesn't have the little bookmark ribbon. It should be super handy here. Yeah, yeah, this would actually work. Should I put something brighter as well? Oh, so I didn't call it the name. Light brown, it says. But to me, it's very, very kind of yellow. And if I actually dilute it the way I usually work, it would give a nice kind of autumnal gradient. But I might add something a bit brighter. Okay. Do I want to? Do I? Yeah, right. Okay. So what is this? Bright yellow. Huh. Anything more muted? This is orange. No, that's too orange. How can orange be too orange? Well, let me count the ways. Uh, I kind of suspect that the first one was the best of the lot. Actually, I like the cadmium yellow better. Yeah, these two go better together. This is the light brown, and this is the cadmium yellow. You can see how well they blend, tonality-wise. Perfect, 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 perfect. So let's do the bushes. Okie doke. We start. Oh, first I need to put some water into my fantastic little pot that I kept praising the heavens. Okay, so just a little bit. Don't need to put much in there as well. Actually, I put probably too much in it because I forgot myself. And here, look, look, look! I'm using my new cute bookmarks from TU, which came like 50 a bike or something like this. And they were dirt cheap, and I'm actually using them. I'm a good girl, I am. Now, here we go. Okie doke. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start from this corner, possibly. Should I pull you a bit closer? That would probably work better for us. Huh? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so here's my fantastic and amazing little pot. So I'm tipping the brush in, and I'm essentially, oh, I took too much color out. And although this book doesn't really like water much, but it tolerates the real brush pens pretty well, surprisingly enough. And basically what I'm doing, it was a, reasonably kind of a bright, or, not exactly dark, but color. And what I'm doing here is that I'm dipping the brush in and essentially washing some of the color out of it. And then as I keep going downwards with it, the color comes back, in from the barrel, and I get this kind of a gradient here. And the grass afterwards, I will put, the grass bits here. They will be paint to color around. So I will eventually put them back in with either gel pens or, okay. And I'm going to dipping it in and dab over that line that is a bit too harsh, maybe. And will get a bit of a buckling. That's fine. Everything is fine. But you do get also this gradient that you don't have to do afterwards with pencils. And it will get smoother, it'll smooth itself out as it dries as well. I don't even know if I need to put the yellow on top there afterwards. I think it kind of looks already kind of pretty cute. But we'll see. But that's what I talked about, if you dilute that ink, you get this kind of an ochreish yellow. And that's what I was looking for. So I need to now keep the pen going. So the ink would get darker, and I would get a bit of a gradient here. Okay. And here, this bit I'm going to do a bit darker because here it's light. So the easiest way to get good contrast is actually go dark there. Dark. And now I'm dipping again. I'm going, making sure that, and this is the easiest way to control them. And this method you can use on most one-sided papers. Even this paper, although it doesn't really love water, but for some reason it withstands this sort of a, washing out quite well. You do get kind of slight, waviness here, but it'll recede once the thing dries. It won't be perfectly flat like it would be if I did that with alcohol marker. But I find that so easy and so relaxing to do. And they don't have to be like Kuretake, Zeg, clean color real brush pens either. They can be any ones. You just dip them in water, to get the light tone because you washed out the ink from the brush, you can see. And then as you work it on the paper, the ink keeps coming down again from the barrel and gradually it gets darker. Should I make that bit lighter or should I make it, I'm going to make it kind of maybe a little bit of a green here and here. Just muted green, but something. So it would give a bit of an interest. And now the paper is a bit wet, so I'm just dabbing in the darker color in some areas just to add a bit of a depth here. And I'm not worrying about going over these bits here, the grass. I'm just going to put it back in with a gel pen or acrylic marker or whatever afterwards. And if I get harsh edge anywhere, I can just dip it again and go over and blend it out on the paper. And this is how easy it is. It goes so fast and it's so painless that, real joy to work with. Okay, so now we need to get a bit of a reflection of this into the water, but I'm going to make it fairly light. So this is too close to the water, you wouldn't really get much of it, but okay. All right. And there's going to be some stone reflection there as well, but above the stone are going to be these. And here also there's going to be gray from the stones there. But there's also going to be a bit of these bushes in the water. And I'm just putting color down, and probably the ripples I will represent with some sort of a dark color, kind of like a bit sky color. So I might use something like, with pencils afterwards. I will put the ripples in. But that's actually the easiest way to do it in this instance. At the moment, I'm just putting kind of rough colors in what I want to do here. Okay. So that's plenty. Okay. And we have this one down. So will we put a little bit of a brightness on top of it or not? Okay, I'll test it with a tiny area and then see if I want to leave it or not. Oh, actually, it doesn't need it. Nope. I'm going to leave it as is. And I need some sort of a muted green. Like olivey. I think we're going for olive green. Wouldn't that be great for olive-y green? Yeah, there we go. Olivey green. And as I keep saying, you do not have to do that with. So I didn't really want to go very light on that one. I kind of wanted that strip here to be darkish. I don't know why I even dipped it. Okay. Just, have a tiny bit of different color. And here this one as well, just to kind of unify them. And I might drop that green color a bit into the rocks as well. Okay, so making sure that the bottom there is a bit of darker. Okay, and I'm leaving that green out. And now we need some grays. Should I drop some of it into the water as well? Just a tiny bit. Okay, I'm coming down from here. No, it doesn't, like, it shouldn't be very exactly the same shape because the water movement and everything. A little bit of them. And this one needs to also be put down here. Just a tiny bit. I want it to be lighter. Okay. Okie doke, and we need some grays. Okie doke, so I'm going to start with the cool gray. So through the rocks, maybe I'll take this rock and this rock here with mainly cool gray. And I'm dipping, but you can't see. I'm doing it behind the scenes. Just get some. Okay, I want this bit darker, and I want some darkness here. Give some shape to the rocks. Not now huge amount, but actually you want good bit. We don't want them to be very smooth, round rocks. We want some shadows in them. See? And I keep tapping the darker color in. And maybe do the same here. Just to give the top the light treatment. See, I'm going to give the whole thing a light treatment. Not going to get the light gray down. See, that's how you get away with having just one dark color, and you can do loads with it. Because you can use it as lighter values, and you can use it as darker values without really putting it down anywhere. You just do it on the paper. So now this one is pretty wet, and now it's nicely soaked. The paper, yes, it does start to whenever get a bit wavy, but trust me, it does calm down a bit after you get the you get it dry again. Especially if it dries naturally. Like if you try to now go with the hot water gun at it, this will probably not end well for you or the paper. But if you just let it be, it'll do its thing, and the fibers will kind of tighten again slightly. Okay, so I have this one down, and maybe this one here is once again just gray, and then making sure that the whole surface is covered with light gray, and then I just keep working it in the places where I want shadow, and gradually the ink comes down and I just get darker areas where I want them. And because the paper is wet, things kind of create natural blends, they essentially blend into each other. Oh, I'm going to do these rocks as well. I'm leaving the tops of these utterly bare. Eventually I might put some gray acrylic marker with the highlight areas, but I have not made up my mind about that. So that. And I think that should be pretty much. I want to do that one as well. There we go. Just stripping it down. And that's it. And now I'm dropping it down into the water as well. The grayness of it. But I'm not going to put down the darkest value. I'm putting some gray down. Because as I said, I'm doing the ripples probably all the same dark color. So something would unify the water. Well, at least kind of similar colors. Okie doke. And here, this one needs to also get might have to put some more of the ochre down. Anyways, I'm going to do all the rocks with different colors here, and then I'll see how far, if I'm going to go into the water or not. And now I'm just putting down the color for the water. It's going to be base, so I'm not going to try and make a perfect impressions of water here or anything, though it would of course help. So I'm trying to keep dipping. You can see how dark this water is becoming, but at the moment it's to my benefit, and I just keep dipping in there. The color I'm using here is called Prussian blue. It kind of fit with the sky color. I think from the options there that were available, I think it fitted the best. So what I'm not trying to do here is try to make it look smooth and even. There's going to be, you can see even as the artist has put the lines down, there's a lot of movement in the water. So I'm putting down kind of varied base. And then once it dries and has dried nicely, like tonight I can't do anything with it. It needs to properly. And I don't want to go at it with a heat gun or, try to fasten up the process, because that's just going to be, I'm going to emphasize those ripples here and ripples here. Of course, it's going to be gone. No, I'm going to go over these areas with the pencil as well. Here it should be pretty dark, but I can probably darken it with pencils. So if it's a bit uneven and kind of patchy and seems to have kind of lines through it, that's actually good for water because it kind of conveys the movement. So I'm not going to try put down kind of flat base of color. I'm actually kind of trying to put down a bit of texture, a bit of movement, and if I can, quickly also put down some movement lines. For example, here, of course, my pen is a bit too empty for it, but both these, there's kind of circular because those leaves have obviously just landed in the water. So there's a bit of a kind of movement vortex around them, the rings. So, these need to be all emphasized afterwards with pencils, but I can put some lines down just to make my life a little bit easier with pencils. Although it doesn't really matter that much. And that's what I'll keep doing. I'll just get down a color base, I'll keep dipping, and once I have it down, I can show it you. This is as far as I'm going to take it tonight. I have kind of a color base for the water down, and now it just needs to dry because it's really wet. And if I even lifted and manipulated it, it could kind of damage the paper. So I'm just going to let it totally get bone dry, and then whenever I feel like it, I'm going to go back to it. But yeah, I have the base down now. There's only the leaves and branches to base, and also the hats and such. But since there's some masking fluid on kind of a smaller parts of these, I'm not going to touch them at the moment. But I still kind of feel like doing something watery, so I thought I'll pull out one of these. Don't know what I'm going to do. Okay, this is the Bygone era one. So maybe do the saber-toothed tiger. Or cave bears. They kind of blend too much together almost. Peace, love, blueberries. Oh, yeah, I'm going to try to figure out what page I'm going to do. Irish elk. Okay. There we go. Irish elk. And I'm just going to make up my mind what I am going to put in the background there. Might put the granulating watercolors down. Maybe. Okay, so usually I go super bright here with backgrounds and such, but since bright, 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 but I might actually kind of go more varied and muted and natural here. Okay, let me find a brush. I have a brush, I have water, I have watercolors. I chose to do granulating watercolors. At the moment, I haven't got a faintest clue what I'm actually going to be doing. So, let's go for it. Okay, so since it's granulating watercolors, we need a fair bit of water. So, probably going to wreck the book again a bit, but that's fine. I have papers behind, just in case something leaks. It doesn't leak into the whole book, but maybe only to the other side, which I'm fine with. Now, so we have yellow-green mist. And since the deer is black, I can pretty much... Oops. If I go over something, it's fine. The paper can be it's very smooth paper for watercolor anyway, and it almost resists the watercolor a bit. Now it will eventually succumb, but at first it can be a bit... I don't want to take watercolor. I want to push it away like a toddler with the food. No. Just making sure that I have plenty of water here, otherwise the granulating watercolors don't really... if it's a book that you can't really put much water into at all, I don't really use granulating watercolors that much, because the whole point of them, the way they work the best, is that you do use them with plenty of water. So, and you can see already how it's starting to kind of break down the color. It's a really nice color.
I decided to speed it up a bit because otherwise, there's not a huge amount now to see. All I'm going to be doing is pretty much apply the watercolor. Here I decided that there's no point trying to paint around the antlers because I want them to be I want to make them on gold afterwards anyway, so I'm going to paint them over with something opaque. So, why stress myself out trying to paint around them? And here you can see me constantly tapping the brush onto the kitchen towel. And if I go into the kind of the crease or the in between pages area with too much paint, I am trying to pick it up constantly, because if you leave too much loose paint or wet paint there, it's going to seep through the stitches and through that fold there onto the rest of the pages. So this area, even if you go fairly bold with water across the page, or even, if something seeps a little bit, or, kind of wet paint goes underneath the page on the sides, even then, I don't really mind those little incidents too much, to be honest, but I do mind if it gets through whole book, and that has happened to me, that it basically, I forgot to do that in the crease there, left loose paint pretty much sit there for a long time, and the whole book was afterwards the kind of at the creases were of the color that I had put down on pretty much one spread. So something to keep in mind. And here I kind of just put down another color. I don't remember the color, what was the name of the second green, but this one now is called, I think, Jade Green. It's also by White Knights. It's a granulating color. And you can see here now how the paper suddenly started resisting me big time. It was doing fine so far with other paints, but for some reason this specific paint was like, nope, not taking this one. I had to work a lot to get it down in any way acceptable manner. I just you will see here how I just keep working it over and over again, and for some reason it was mostly really resisting at the bottom of the page. I don't know what that is. Maybe it was something to do with the print, or just that specific page, the paper on that page. But yeah, struggling there. So eventually I just decided to go with the texture and declare it intentional, which it certainly wasn't. I decided to paint over the leaves and go afterwards with gel pens or acrylic markers. And on the opposite side of the page, I pre-wet the clean area, and that helped a bit with the resist. So it looked, it was a bit easier. I had learned my lessons on the opposite page.
The textured background base is now ready. I have not yet decided what exactly I am going to do here. That's the sort of a texture I wanted. I probably will do some emphasizing of that kind of a blackness. I will make these probably gold, the antlers. I'll do something about these leaves as well, probably with acrylic gel pens, stuff like this. And then, some splatter of stuff after everything else is done, and we'll see how it will look eventually. Anyway, it needs to now totally dry because it's absolutely soaked, and everything is still developing and slightly kind of moving and settling. Might have to try to pick up tiny bit of paint there, but it's going to leave texture behind, so I don't really want to touch it much. I have a bit of a puddling there. So yeah, I'm trying to touch it very gently so it wouldn't leave the brush marks behind, but it tends to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do anymore. And yeah, just going to find a spot for it to lay it flat and let it dry totally. And then I'm going to find next thing to do. I'm having a dilemma. Which one will I work on next? Will I work a little bit on that cloud and bird and maybe leaves in this Cinderella page, which is this book, the Fairy Tales by Maria Trolle, which is, I love that book, but the tininess of some details just frustrates me because pretty much the only thing you can do is use some gel pens, which I will have to do on that bird because it's just so teeny. And I don't know if I'm going to work over the sky with the pencil a bit as well to kind of even out the tone a bit. I don't know. Anyways, or will I work on the pig? Cinderella? Pig. Okay. Okay, Cinderella for time being. And then we'll think about the pig later. I think I need to do something with that sky. It's, it has two layers of watercolor and it's still kind of, it is a granulating watercolor, all right? But it, this tiny image, it just looks too textured, I think, and kind of pulls the attention away from the foreground. So I need to go over that with a pencil, but I'll do that later. At the moment, I think I want to do something with that cloud, just for funsies. I pulled out my Brutfuners, well, the Brutfuner macarons. Let me get you closer, because this is teeny, but you can't see anything if I don't get close enough. And now it's going to start losing focus, of course. So I'm going to put some color down. In the clouds, the watercolor that is down there is also it's also granulating watercolor, but I'm not going to just keep, that one tone there. So the one pencil I'm using at the moment, it's sky blue actually. But because sky is so dark, I will probably kind of, I think the extra blue kind of to cool down and clean a bit that cloud will look pretty. So I'm going to put some down. Like this crown, for example. How am I to color that? Most likely I'm going to try to kind of make the area behind the crown a little bit darker, because at the moment it was essentially white, which is, I'm putting some color there. And, this way I can maybe kind of use a gel pen or something that I can essentially kind of bring the crown out with a light outline. So there's not much coloring. I will put maybe, one or two pencils tiny bit in there. There's not much you can do with that tiny area. Just kind of putting it into cooler or more shadow areas where the gray has been previously. But I'm not going to go over all the gray and just bring it all into blue, because that would just, defeat the purpose of the granulating paint that I have. I like the texture that I have here. I don't want to totally kill it, but I want to add something to it. Okay. Now, do I have enough of that slightly darker area now behind her so the ground would come forward if I put, maybe I need to put something darker there, but we'll think about that later. And I have another, ouch, stabbing myself with pencils, Sky Mist And it's more muted. It's not just kind of a bright sky blue as the previous one is. I'm just going to add it here and there, just for variation, just for interest. Now, considering that I'm going to go over the outlines here with possibly white, possibly gray, I haven't yet decided. So, but the cloud still looks a little bit boring. So maybe some violet or purple, something a bit more muted, not super bright. Okay, so I have lilac and I have rose gray. That is not gray. This is very funny. You can actually see on that pencil. I keep that pencil set basically in kind of a box, like this, stacked up. I can show you the box. Like this. On the windowsill. And you can see which part of the pencil has been exposed to the sunlight. Even from the pencil body, the pink, a brighter pink is gone. So, yeah, light fast they are not. But they're not trying to be. They're budget pencils. Plus, even in the more expensive ranges, okay, which one I'm using? Lilac. Even in more expensive ranges, the pastel pencils or very light pencils tend to be less light fast. No, it's hard to get very light pencil very light fast. Then again, we don't need them to be, well, maybe I can't really speak for you because I don't know, what you're going to be doing with your work. Maybe you're more of an artist and coloring is just something you relax with and kind of switch off with. In which case, yes, you probably need light fast materials. But most of us, myself definitely, we don't need light fast materials. Just adding some extra color to make it more fun. Who's going to see my works? And I'm not going to be hanging them anywhere. They sit safely tucked away from light in my coloring books. So it's not really a problem for me. But I do understand how it would be for artists. I'm not saying that light fastness isn't, is a made up issue. It's like, no, it's not. It's a very relevant thing. Just not for me. Just not for me. Okay. So that's getting a bit better. And this is now the rose gray, the one that had lost all the pink from the barrel paint, the spray or whatever. Don't know how they paint the pencil barrels. Do they dip them? Do they spray them? That's actually would be interesting to know. I've heard some people here that they've been to the factory tours for Derwent and maybe some other places. That would be cool. Probably one of the few weirdos who would go, pencil factory. Ooh, yum. Yeah. Own your weirdness and be proud of it. Oh, there's little soft pale pink just to add some blush. into some areas of the crowd. Once again, just for funsies. Not justified by, any reasoning or light or whatever. I just felt like doing a bit of a color variation in the clouds. And if you put down, different colors and different, essentially kind of playing with colors and color variations, then one of the, basically there's two main things you have to keep in mind. There's probably more, but these are my main things. One thing is that if you're putting down a color and there's already other colors there, make sure that the one you're putting, for example, your pink next to, put it next to something that actually works with pink. In this case, pretty much most of the colors here would work, but either it's blue or lilac or pink will pretty much go, unless it's like you're trying to blend it into green. Can be a bit of a problem, but now I have that. Should we put some cream into it as well if we're going for it? Do I have any creamy color here? Yes, I do. Okay, this is very pale. So this is called ivory. It's not even cream. It's very, very light. It's just enough to slightly warm and brighten some tips here. And this one I will put kind of sticky outy areas, like tops of the clouds and or places that I haven't put any other pencil on. And of course, because I have watercolor there, it grabs onto pretty much any pencil very well. So next thing I'm going to do is I want to do something about this bird. The bird is a pain. It's so small. Okay, so I need some sort of a warm orangish. Okay, I found something. I grabbed Arrtx pencil. Sorry. Sorry. I can't really bring you very close to this thing because it's literally so tiny. This is Arrtx pencil and it's terracotta. So I'm kind of trying to give some deeper shadows to it. It at the moment has a very sharp tip. But I'm being super careful because I don't want to take the brightness of it away because the brightness is the thing that makes it stand out against the sky. But I also will need to do some gel pen work here, otherwise it just is so slim and tiny and just gets lost. So I'm putting some shadows in and then I'm actually going to eventually, some of them, I'm putting quite a lot of shadow in because I will kind of kill a lot of it with gel pens. Okay. It's so detailed that there's no point going like super out to the town with it. Just as long as it kind of stands out, that it pops. And gel pens will help me to do that. But I don't want to put them down yet because I want to do the sky first. But I want to put some pencils into it. And pretty much pencil, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to put down any other pencil because the brightness is already there from the. What did I use? I think I used water-based marker, possibly, to do the base of the bird. But, I don't want to dull it down. It needs to be bright against this sky. And I need to do these bits all with gel pen because there's no way. Okay, and there's something in her beak that I need to do with gold. There's like a chain. Once again, I'm not going to do it before I actually have the sky fixed. At the moment, I do not like the sky. And it's going to be a pain to fix because there's so many tiny little areas. Yeah. Okay, just white pencil to make it beak. Yeah. All right. And I'm going to. Okay, what about the legs? Yeah, I'm not going to do much more with it. The legs I will probably leave as is without any gel pens, just making sure that there's enough darkness around them so they don't need any outlining. But definitely the head here and that plumage and the tail feathers, I need some gel pen there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that at that. And the leaves. Will this one work? That's chromium oxide green. I did the coloring the way that I left the white at the top. And I'm not 100% sure yet if I want to put pink, possibly pink, yeah, because that would probably work better there than yellow. Yellow was other option in my head, but then it kind of starts competing with the bird. So it's going to be, I think, pink. Let me find a pink. That would work there. Let's see. That is just called pink. Wow. Profound. Just making sure that I have enough there. And you can see very well how I need to work the sky now, how it's a granulating watercolor. And although, technically it looks actually nice, it's just because there's so many itsy bitsy teeny things in this image, it kind of competes with everything. So is there any darker greens? Because I feel that this one isn't dark enough. This one is what? Fern green. And now I'm going to chromium oxide green. I'm going into that tiny small white area here as well, taking the harsh edge off the green. And then I'm going to put the pink into the tips of the leaves. There you go. There you go. Yeah, these look all right. At least they're a bit more interesting. But I don't want them to be too busy and kind of too taking away the attention from the bird thingy-maling. So I'm going to do the leaves now and then I'll be back. I got carried away and started fixing the sky. I hadn't actually planned to do that. I thought I'd do that some other night, and then I looked at it and it just kept annoying me and annoying me. So now I'm just going over the sky, with pencils and smoothing it out. And then I can possibly afterwards put some stars into it and it would look like really, really, super patterny, messy, and competing with the foreground thing. I probably should be even careful with the stars or whatever, white dots or whatever sparkles I'm putting in here, because yeah, there's like the detail is so small, and if I overdo it with the background, with the detail in the background, it's going to be not looking great. Looks messy and clumsy. Sometimes less is more, although this is not my motto usually. More is more is usually Oxic motto. Okay, so I'll just do that bit and I'll be back. The sky is finished. Well, it's not finished, but pencil work, I don't think I'm going to go much further with it. Oh, I used 3 pencils there. I used Mayan Violet, Ultramarine Violet, and Copenhagen Blue. I just kind of created a bit of a, not a gradient, yeah, you could call it a gradient, kind of just a bit of a variation there, so it wouldn't be just one flat blue, which I think would have been kind of boring. It ate quite a bit of my Copenhagen Blue, which is a nice color, but luckily not one of my favorite colors. Yeah, usually it's kind of more of a red leaning blue, and I like more usually muted, dark, possibly even green leaning blues or gray leaning blues. Anyway, but I think it came out right, and now she's standing out much better, and the whole scene, once I get it shaded, will be much better looking. Okay, so I will now look for it's getting very late, so I'm probably going to have just a little bit of kind of something very relaxing. So I'll find something that'll be very just chill with quietly.
This video has kind of been cursed with technical issues. You might have heard the sound was off because I was testing external microphone and it did not go well. I just didn't know, how to position it correctly. And here it had stopped working altogether. The battery had run out, but I of course didn't notice. So I have this clip at the end where I was kind of supposed to chill and have a little bit of a chat, which is totally soundless. So I am doing the narration now later on in my computer. And this image is from Crook's Dark Queen and King. Pretty sure that's the book. And I was, I find just layering color for skin somehow super soothing. And I'm using here Brutfuner skin color set. It's 72 set of Brutfuner skin color pencils, which is really good value, and they're good pencils. I absolutely recommend them. Only thing is that if they run out, they run out, which is a problem if you have certain colors that you really like. Like the first color I was laying down, the purple sauce. I like that for skin shadows, and it's getting shorter and shorter. This pencil color is called, I think, Polignac. Yeah, Polignac. I was actually showing it there. Because a weird name, that's why probably. And I'm using it to kind of soften out the shadows a bit after I have laid down this really kind of a dark purple color as purple sauce as a darkest shadow. One of the reasons I put the darkest color down first is because I'm coloring on a diluted acrylic matte paint. And on this base, often you're better off kind of establishing your shadows first, because you can't do as many layers on that as you can on good paper. And if you do your lightest colors first and try to build up as you often would with pencils, you might end up in a situation that you just can't get any dark shadows on at all afterwards. Here I'm using a pencil which is called, I think, Hot Chocolate in that set. And this is just kind of warm up some of the shadows and take away a bit of the kind of a purplishness of the whole thing. And I do not know what that pencil name was because I said it in the video, but I don't remember now. So we just have to kind of go by any guess is as good as mine. And same story here. I actually remember. I think it was called like light yellow skin or something like this, because because the skin base was very purplish. I'm essentially neutralizing it here with that kind of fairly yellowish pencil, and then I decide that I will actually do the highlights fairly kind of a warm golden yellowish at the start. Yeah, adding some white pencil to the main highlights on the nose, a bit on the chin, on top of the lip, just to bring them forward and not to lose those highlights. So I've essentially decided to burnish the highlights with that color, but before that I think I'm going to show you now how the water with the capybaras has started to kind of change and develop, as it's drying. It's still not dry there, but it's changed already quite a bit. And now I'm just going to carry on burnishing because I just decided that this is going to be my highlight color, apparently. So thank you very much for sticking with me. Hope you had some good time. I certainly did, sitting there coloring. And hopefully you'll join me again next time when I decide to invite you to my coloring session. So bye bye, and hope you're doing well.